It's no secret that the Christian worldview is being challenged from many sides today. As C.S. Lewis warned, casual Christianity has no answers. But we believe God is at work amid the darkness. We believe God is strengthening the church for the challenging days to come. At the C.S. Lewis Institute, we believe God is raising up a discipleship movement, a renewed focus on discipleship where churches, ministries, and individuals seek to lead people into a fully surrendered life of loving God and loving their neighbor, just as Jesus commanded. Fully surrendered lives of authentic discipleship. That's what we need to see. That's how we need to live. We believe God has focused on this particular decade. We call it the decade of discipleship, where the seeds planted this decade will strengthen the church for years to come. The C.S. Lewis Institute has a role to play in this movement. We believe we are called to equip and encourage pastors, ministry leaders, and individuals to develop disciples who will develop disciples who will develop disciples. Over the last decade, we've been blessed to disciple more than 1,300 men and women. One of our fellows described to me so well just what our program meant to her. She told me, "Jesus changed my life 20 years ago, but the C.S. Lewis Institute changed the way I live my life." The C.S. Lewis Institute's unique approach to discipleship focuses on the integration of the heart and mind in an interdenominational setting. The Fellows program is intentionally designed to dramatically alter the trajectory of spiritual growth through a combination of dynamic teaching, experienced mentors, effective small groups, and active engagement in the Word. The Fellows program aims to produce mature believers who can actively articulate, defend, and joyfully live out their faith in Jesus.
Teaching in a public school, you don't always have the opportunity to be as forward with your faith as you could maybe with a friend or just someone that you knew outside of the workplace. But as I was able to get into the school and build a reputation and foster relationships with some of the Young Life staff and get involved with coaching, you know, just really get involved in places where the kids were, where they could know you more relationally rather than just based on curriculum. They get to know you, they get to know who you are. In that, you're able to build a reputation with the kids that they know you as the person, if they want to know about God, like that's who you go talk to. You go talk to Miss Storm about God if you have any questions at all. And that becomes your reputation at school. If I were going to tell someone about the Fellows program, which I have told many, many people about the program, my advice or my thoughts would be that be prepared to have your life changed. I think if you let God, then He will do big and amazing things.
More than 1,300 men and women have participated in the Fellows program since 1999. And these fellows are making a significant impact in their churches, their places of business, their homes, and their neighborhoods.
For me, as a pastor, the need for C.S. Lewis Institute in Central Pennsylvania was one that really is birthed, I think, out of a deep desire to see discipleship take place beyond what a pastor can typically afford to do with the time they have available. Discipleship in most churches is Sunday school classes and small groups, and it's just a wonderful blessing to have something available for pastors to see people go deeper in their faith as a disciple.
The world is in desperate need of modern-day believers who will live as radical disciples of Christ, living out what Jesus taught while working in positions of leadership and influence. We are seeing God raise up those leaders through the Institute's Fellows program. We think of our discipleship training program as an incubation chamber for a new generation of leaders to bring God's kingdom into more and more places.
The mission of the Institute was to create not a lot of fans for C.S. Lewis, but to have 10,000 like him.
The past 10 years, the C.S. Lewis Institute has been about content, building excellent discipleship programs. The next 10 years, we believe our focus will be on proliferation of that content through expansion and partnerships. Let's talk about expansion. At present, there are 9 cities in the United States and the United Kingdom that have established a C.S. Lewis Institute. Additionally, 8 cities in the United States are going through the qualification process of becoming an institute. These include Dallas, Richmond, New York City, Boston, Quantico, Leesburg, Houston, and Miami. Internationally, we're beginning our 3rd year in London And 2 of our fellows have moved to China and are preparing to launch the C.S. Lewis Institute there in January 2015. Earlier this year, several of us traveled to Belfast to begin establishing an institute in the childhood home of C.S. Lewis. Our partnerships with international groups are also exciting. 38 years ago, the founders of ELIC and the C.S. Lewis Institute were best friends. One decided to make disciples in Asia, the other the United States. Today, these 2 organizations are tapping into one another's resources, with fellows from the Institute going to be teachers with ELIC in Asia, and teachers from ELIC in Asia returning to the United States to be either fellows or even city directors. And teachers in ELIC are using the content of the Institute for their own personal study and for discipleship purposes.
Ambassadors for Christ was started by my father 50 years ago. And during that time frame, it has developed a lot of relationship with the Chinese churches here in the United States and in Europe. One of the initiatives that the C.S. Lewis Institute and Ambassadors for Christ is currently partnering on is to translate the Fellows Program into Chinese. The translation includes not only the language aspect, but also the cultural contextualization of the material.
And our partnership with Ravi Zacharias International Ministries remains strong, with joint seminars and speaker exchanges, as well as jointly developed discipleship materials like Heart and Mind Discipleship. More fellows have gone through the Fellows Program in the past 3 years than in the previous 10. And at our current growth rate, we will double that number in the next 3 years. We have a vision for over 1,000 fellows being trained in 20 locations around the world by the year 2020. We are moving from content creation to proliferation and expansion. This is not about our numbers, but it is about creating leaders around the world who can serve effectively in the kingdom wherever they are. The Scriptures offer us numerous examples of God giving His servants a vision and asking them to share that vision with His people and trust that He will provide for His work through His people. Will you come join us?
When we speak with pastors and ministry leaders around the world, they tell us the one thing they desperately need is a growing group of mature believers who are called to leadership roles in businesses, in government, in their families, their neighborhoods, and the churches. They want to see people who can be role models for seekers and believers alike, who can teach them to live out their faith in every aspect of their life. In the challenges of today's culture, disciples of Jesus will shine brighter against the darkness. Now is a time of opportunity, not despair. God is at work. Let's all join Him there.